Alrighty, today I'm going to show you how you can build master level authority to instantly build trust with your prospects, to stop feeling like a shitty salesman, and make sure that you can ask those questions you want to ask without having prospects yell at you or get mad for asking those questions. Now, full disclaimer, I will be fully transparent. This video doesn't have any editing. As a matter of fact, it's going to be super boring, and I'm no Jeremy Miner. I'm not that good at sales, but I can promise you, despite how boring this video is, because I don't have a whole entire editing crew, the contents inside this video will be very educational, will help you build trust with your prospects instantaneously, okay? And so instead of focusing on making sure the video looked all pretty, I thought I would focus my time on making sure the contents inside the video were good. So let's dive in and talk about how you can build trust within seconds so you can stop feeling like a shitty salesman and go out there and actually ask the questions you want to ask. So typical sales calls go something like this, right? You do a bit of pre-call info, right? You get a bit of resources beforehand to use, for like a weapon later on in the sales call starts. You have a few icebreakers. You ask them, hey, where are you from? How was your weekend? How's the weather over there? Oh my goodness, yada yada yada. Okay, and then you start asking your questions. All of a sudden, the prospect is fired up. They're triggered. They're mad. They're not opening up. They're closed off. They don't want to answer any questions. You're like, how did I go wrong? Like, how do I build more trust with this guy without sitting there for 30 minutes asking him about his life story that I don't even care about? Well, we're going to talk about one of the topics, which is called damaging missions, which, funny enough, I actually just used on you earlier. Remember when I said that this would be super boring? I'm no Jeremy Miner, and I focus all my time on making sure the contents of the video were good, rather than making the video look good. So yes, it'll be boring, but it will be educational. That's a damaging mission, and it's actually one of the most impactful ways to build trust with people, because it makes people listen to you more. And so I'm going to explain what a damaging admission is. I'm going to give you a few examples. I'm going to share with you how you can use it. And after that, I'm going to share with you the one question, which is called the close off question, which is what you can ask your prospects to make them instantly share anything they want. But we're going to save that one for the end so my retention is high, because yes, I want people to watch my videos. Okay, so let's talk about what a damaging admission is. But fundamentally, a damaging admission is just when you admit a flaw about yourself. That's it. It's when you just admit something. It's a damaging admission, right? It's an admission that damages your reputation, your view, etc. But followed up with something else makes it really, really, really powerful. So it's actually really good to use when you're making a claim or when you want people to trust you more. Because people nowadays try and look so perfect. I mean, just go look at anybody's Instagram. Everybody is just trying to look super perfect and almost fake, to the point where nobody really trusts anybody. Nobody's willing to admit their flaws anymore. And so when you admit your flaws to somebody, when you say, hey man, I'm not perfect, I'm boring, I'm no Jeremy Miner, I'm not like those guys, but I am really good at this, this, and this, they will then trust you and believe when you say this, because you've admitted a flaw first. Most people try and say, look how good I am, look at how good I am, amazing, amazing, amazing. People are skeptical because all they ever talk about is the good, the good, the good, and they almost feel like they're inhuman, which makes them puts them a little off balance. They're like unsure, like, is this guy telling the truth? And so when you tell a damaging admission, when you admit something bad about yourself first, when you follow it up with whatever the good thing is, people are more likely to believe it. So that fundamentally is a damaging admission. Let me show you some really, really good examples in marketing and advertising of good damaging admissions so you can get a better idea of how to use this. And then once again, after, I'll share with you the number one question you can ask to get prospects to take their clothes off. Not physically, metaphorically, okay? So share with you a couple examples here in marketing. When you're only number two, you try harder or else. Little fish have to keep moving all the time. The big ones never stop picking on them. Avis is a rental car company, okay, knows about all the problems of little fish. We're only number two in rental cars. We'd be swallowed up if we didn't try harder. There's no rest for us. We're always emptying ashtrays, making sure gas tanks are full before we rent our cars, seeing that the batteries are full of life, checking our windshield wipers, and the cars we rent out can't be anything less than lively new super torque Fords. And since we're not the big fish, you won't feel like a sardine when you come to our counter. We're not jammed with customers. So look at that. They're taking advantage of the fact that they're not the biggest company out there. They're admitting that, hey, we aren't the best. We aren't the biggest. But because of that, look at all the good things that come with that. And so instead of trying to be like everyone else, saying, I'm number one, look how good I am, woohoo, look at me, I'm amazing, right? Trying to be like everyone else, like, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best. Saying, hey, we're not the best. We're not number one. But look at all the good things that come from not being number one, which is like we clean everything, we make sure the gas tanks are full. When you come to our counter, we don't treat you like a sardine, right? The metaphor here. Okay, let's go into some other examples about this. Some really, really good ones. Let's move these down so we can focus more on the one we're looking at, which is this. Let's do the my thing isn't cheap, right? How could you use the my thing isn't cheap example to make people want to buy your thing more? Well, here, my thing isn't cheap. Let's say this is aimed at an older conservative audience. Can be reframed like this: my thing isn't cheap, but that's because it's made in America with only the highest quality materials. Fuck China. So think about that for a second. From going what seems to be a horrible thing to say, my thing isn't cheap, turns out to be actually a really, really, really good damaging admission as to why. Hey, listen, our thing isn't cheap, but that's because we use the best material and don't use slaves from China to make our stuff. Think about that. It's so impactful. Yes, they're hurting their reputation in the short term for the time being, right? Of like, oh, we're expensive. Like, oh, we don't want expensive. Yeah, but that's because we don't force kids to work for us, and we actually have the highest quality materials because we get them from here, just in America. Oh, and now they entertain the idea again. Let's look at some more examples, okay? If you're looking to lose 100 pounds overnight, I'm sorry, I can't provide that. But if you are willing to put in the work and follow my instructions and course, I can promise that you will reach your weight goal. So once again, damaging mission. If you want to lose 100 pounds overnight, I can't help you do that. But if you're willing to put in the work and do X, Y, and Z, I will help you lose weight. Okay? It's the same thing that I use for my community inside my Entrepreneur Brotherhood, my free school community. I'm like, hey, if your goal is to make 100K overnight by putting in no work, I'm sorry, I can't help you. But if you're a young entrepreneur who wants to put in the work and who knows that what you get is earned, not given, and is willing to sacrifice and put in the work, then this is for you. Because I can guarantee you that with my guidance, you will make money. Okay, it's a similar thing. Or even on my VSLs, I'm going to say like, hey man, this is a VSL. The point of this is to sell you. But, and then get into the but, okay? Let's talk about one more damaging mission, and then we'll go into some examples of how you can use this, how you can apply this, and we'll talk about, once again, the one question that you need to ask to get prospect to instantly open up. It's an amazing question, okay? So let's look at this last example here. Last few, actually. There's quite a few here. These audios won't be radio studio quality. I did these interviews with the world's top back expert by recording our conference calls. So yeah, the quality will suck, but the content inside will be amazing. Once again, damaging mission. The audio sucks, but that's because these experts, like, you're implying that this was recorded at a conference call, which makes it seem even more important. That's because these are experts. They don't have time to sit here and muck around in a YouTube studio, okay? Or another one. I didn't have a full Hollywood camera crew to shoot the videos for this course. It was just me and a camera, like how you'll be on your photo shoots. This was for a photography course. Literally, the woman in the photography course said, hey, I didn't have a full Hollywood, yada, yada, yada. But that's because you won't have that either. And so this is what I did without it. Here's what you can do as well. So once again, damaging missions. I don't have a Hollywood camera crew. So this bad thing happened. But that's because, and then insert good thing. Now they trust you even more. Okay, there's some other good examples on sales letters, right? I'm not a doctor. This is a really, really good one. Listen, I'm not a doctor who went to medical school and got a fancy degree and spent 15 years doing all this stuff. I'm a busy working mom who figured out how to make my baby stop crying in 50 seconds and go to sleep so I can get up for work the next day. Think about how powerful that is. She's not this, and or this, but she's admitting that. Say, hey, listen, I'm not those things. But I just found out how to make my baby stop crying so I go back to bed. And people now believe and they go, wow, like I believe that this must work. And as a result, they go and buy. Okay, let's go two more, and then we'll talk about the last question you can ask. I wasn't a hunk who was born with a six-pack abs. I was a tired middle-aged office worker who struggled to stay in shape. But after this program, XYZ. Okay, last one. I'm not a bombshell beauty that got approached for dates left and right by guys, but I figured out the secret to getting quality guys to commit to a serious relationship. That's obviously like a dating coach. Okay, so it's once again using the damaging emission. Listen, I'm not a bombshell beauty. I'm not a model. Okay, but I did find a way to get yada yada yada. All right, once again, similar to what I used in my course, like, hey, I can't help you become a millionaire overnight and retire your parents within 7 days by helping you trade forex and start drop shipping. Okay, but I did find a way to predictably scale agencies by putting in the hard work. So if you want to make money guaranteed by actually putting the work in, join my inner circle. Right, it's very similar to the stuff I use, and I think it's so powerful to have a frame of admitting your flaws. Okay, which goes back to this thing that I want to talk about. Being human and being honest. One of the best things about damaging missions is you get to be honest, right? So let's say you're a nerd. Let's say you're an absolute nerd. Let's say you're a newbie nerd, okay? When you hop on the sales calls, a really good damaging mission, you can just, hey man, I'll be totally honest with you. I'm not the best at the whole like sales, social things. I have a bit of an accent. I'm not the best at communicating, but that's because I focus all my time on delivering my clients' results. So, disclaimer, I'm not going to be the best at communicating, but that's because all my time is spent on the back end actually getting my clients' results. And therefore, you've just planted the seed that, hey, this guy isn't good at sales, but he's good at getting results. And so you've just used a damaging mission to tell the truth about why you're bad at sales, but as a result, you are good at the back end stuff, which makes them trust you more, and even for a better reason, for getting them good results. Okay, so you can use this for anything, anytime. It's actually one of my favorite things to use just in day-to-day conversations with people, is using damaging emissions. Like, hey man, listen, I'm not very good at this, but this thing. And people trust you more. Now, as promised, the close off question. This is like one question you can ask to instantly get your prospect to take their clothes off, metaphorically, unless you physically want them to. Okay, if you're a guy and you're with a girl, you can use this as well to make them open up and answer your questions. So this is one of the best ways to build trust instantly. It's by doing this. You ever ask somebody, hey, what's your goal? What's your dream? Why? Yada yada. All these like crazy, big, deep questions that you want like a deep answer to. Well, the next time you ask one of these questions, instead of just saying like, hey man, like why do you want to hit this goal? Take this approach. Imagine if you were with a girl. You were in a bedroom with a girl. And you wanted to do the thing, do the nasty with the girl. Let me ask you a question. If you asked her, hey lady, would you want to get it on? And she says yes, would you sit there and watch her get unchanged and just keep your clothes on? And be like, all right, I'm ready. With your clothes fully on? Well, probably not. If you're a normal human, you probably wouldn't do that. You would probably at the same time and or even before take her clothes off as well. And make her feel comfortable taking her clothes off. And it's the same in business. It's the same in sales. Which is that if we want somebody to take their clothes off, the best way to get them to take their clothes off, granted, if everything else is checked out and they've consented and all that other stuff and they're actually in the same mood as you, is you take your clothes off first. Because then they'll feel comfortable taking their clothes off. And so taking this metaphorical example from women into business, if you're going to ask them about their why, right before you ask them, share with them your why. So be like, hey man, what's your why? And actually, matter of fact, the reason why I'm doing this, my why, is because 7 months ago I saw my mom do this. And that pissed me off. And so I made a promise to myself from that day forward that I would do everything I can to help my mom get out of that situation. And so that's why I'm doing this. What's that thing for you? And it's where you take it first. You say, hey man, here's why I'm doing this. And you make your prospect feel comfortable opening up to you, opening up with you and telling you it because they feel like they're not being shamed or weird because you've already taken your clothes off. And they see you standing there naked. And so now the weirdest thing is if they stood there naked. Or, the weirdest thing is they didn't stand there naked. So they go out there and take their clothes off, metaphorically, right? So if you want somebody to open up, if you want to really, really build rapport and trust with someone, tell them your thing first. So before you ask them a really, really deep question, right, one of these huge probing questions, give them your answer first. Be like, hey, John, and I guess, like, what would happen if, like, nothing changed in your business? And I guess, for me, I know that a couple months ago, I was really struggling too. And I knew that if I didn't do anything, my business was going to go under over the next 6 months. And if that happened, I wasn't going to be able to put food on the table for my family. And I wasn't going to let that happen. So I guess, what does that look like for you? And now, after you've just exposed yourself to this guy, John, we'll say, John will feel a lot more comfortable opening up and saying, hey man, it's the same for me. And getting the real, good answers. So, like I said, not the most fancy video ever. But as promised, a lot of educational stuff inside that you can use to build good authority on your sales calls, cold calls, even just day-to-day interactions by using these two simple techniques, damaging omissions and close-off questions. Okay? And if you haven't already, join my free school community. You can chat with me every single day. Ask me a bunch of questions. I got a lot of resources in there that are all free. You can get access to scale your agencies. You can make a bunch of money online. Other than that, if you have any more questions, drop them down below. I'll catch you in the next one. Go watch one of my other videos. If you like this video, odds are you'll probably like my other videos. I got a lot of videos on my YouTube channel. Okay, so go watch another one. I'm sure you'll find one you like. Peace.